Good morning everybody and welcome to the channel. It's 10 o'clock on Tuesday the 15th I think of September, and the GS Adventure I am riding now is 2 weeks old today and she's on her way for her first service. We're about 20 miles from North Oxford garages in Oxford obviously. I'm riding up from Southampton, so I'm currently on the A34 and today she'll be having her first service. She's done 613 miles, so she should be just over 630 by the time I get to the dealership. Pretty well spot on the 600 miles, or I think it's 1,000 kilometers in metric, that she should be when the service is done. I'll run through very quickly a couple of things regarding the Adventure, some things I've learnt in my first 600 miles of ownership, both good and bad, and some of the things I'm hoping might get looked at in this first service today. And I'm really interested in everybody who has a reasonably new GS or Adventure letting me know if they've got the same issues or if that I'm expecting too much to happen and various other things. So it'll be interesting to know. I'm always grateful for comments, so it'll be interesting to know from you guys how you're getting on with your bikes, and you know what happened in your first 600 miles, and whether you've had a couple of the little issues that I'm hoping they may be able to fix on the bike today. First of all, everybody will be pretty well aware that the motorcycle sales in March and April were pretty well devastated, of course, by the pandemic, because the dealerships were pretty well closed. BMW in the UK, for example, in April sold 40 bikes, 40 bikes. And I imagine if we check that out, those would have been bikes to the emergency services, because, as I say, they were pretty well closed anyway. But the most interesting thing is currently the most popular second-hand bike on the market is the R1250GS BMW. Exactly the same as the one I've just part-exchanged to Bertha. And of course, whoever buys that bike, I can tell you they have bought an immaculate, beautiful, reliable GS. But it does go to show that whilst I was very happy with the part exchange that I got, I would dare say if it's sold, and we'll see that when we get to the dealership today, but if it's sold, then they should be getting nice money for those as well, because they are the fastest selling second-hand bike in the United Kingdom, bar none at the moment. Anyway, back to the Adventure, which I'm riding today. Here she is. She has had some farkling done, so I'll be doing a bit of a video, very quick video on the re-farkling of the Adventure and some of the new things that I have put on. There's not many new things, but certainly the re-farkling of all of the stuff that I have put on. But today I was just going to run through some of the issues that I'm having with the Adventure, which I'm hoping they may be able to cure at the first service. And some of these I think will be software related with the TFT, and I'd be interested to know from you guys if you've got GS's or you've got Adventures, or I think the RT shares the same software that the GS has on the TFT. I'd be interested to know if you've got some of the same issues, or whether I'm dreaming them, because of course they may well have existed on my old GS. I just didn't really notice them. And then a couple of things that I really love about this bike, perhaps over the GS2. So a few little issues that I've got. The connectivity on this bike has been atrocious. Now I've been through the 1200 GS with a optional TFT screen. I've been through the 1250 GS with the fitted TFT, so effectively not an option, and of course I've now had the Adventure. And of all of them, whilst everybody will complain about the connectivity, and it's had good days and bad days, without question this release of the software, which is the latest version according to the dealer, is not good, and I'm led to believe that it might be specific to the iPhone. So again, I'll be very interested to know if you've got an Android, whether you've got much better connectivity or none of the issues that I'm actually getting. Just so that you're aware, I think I'll put up on the screen here my actual software version, but I think from memory it's something like 022_005_044. If I've remembered that, then I'm a genius. But anyway, I'll put it on the screen so that you can see it. And I'm operating at the moment on iOS 13.7 on an iPhone 11 Pro, and I've got a Senna SRL built into my Shui Neotech 2 helmet. But it's a Senna, the equivalent, I think, of a Senna S20 or a Senna S30. So that gives you a sort of feel for what I've got. But I don't think any of these are really related to the Senna. I think they're related to the iOS and the software version. But here is a little rundown of the issues that I'm having. Phone calls are all but impossible. You can connect, but it is crackly, it is jumpy. It's almost like you're always out of service, although we can see by the service indicator here on the TFT that you know, I've got full bars at the moment, and I could make a call now and it would be exactly the same. It's pretty well impossible to carry out a phone call at all. The link between the BMW Connected app and the phone stroke TFT, so that overall network connection, is also very, very unreliable. You can see at the moment that I do have the connected, and I can tell that because I've got the speed of the road up here, 70 mile an hour in the little white block. The interesting thing there, by the way, is if you look through the manual, you'll see there's a nice little pretty red bordered circle on the TFT, and I actually changed my TFT to kilometers, and that comes back. So us poor miles per hour people do not get the pretty circular road sign looking speed limit. But all the by the by, that's a very good indicator to know whether or not my phone is connected to the TFT. Of course, I can press the button and get all of my things lit up, telephone, media, navigation, so I know that that is connected. But my telltale is whether that speed limit is actually up. Now, you might well say, well, does it really matter, Nick? Do you need a phone? Do you need the media? Do you need to know the speed limit of the road? Because, of course, normally I'd have it up here on the Nav 6 as well. Well, my answer to that is, well, maybe not, but it's there and it should work. And it's narking me a little that, if anything, the overall connectivity is getting worse rather than better. And equally, I'm not a great fan of the Nav 6. I'm not a great lover of the Nav. I think it's over-engineered, and I use it, as you've seen, mainly for the telemetry of the bike. But so I'm starting to use the turn-by-turn on the TFT. Well, the problem there is, of course, you get in the middle of a ride and you suddenly find that, actually the speed limit has gone, and therefore you have no more navigation, and that in itself is a real pain. So I'm hoping that they'll be able to do something with that today, but I'm fearful they won't, because that's the latest version of the software. And equally, I'm even more fearful because I think this week or early next week iOS 14 comes out, which means even if they fix this, Apple will probably break it. So anyway, I'm interested to know whether you've got those issues. Now, one of the other issues that has cropped back up, when I first had my 1200, as I say, with an optional TFT, I also had the SOS button here, and the SOS button simply has a SIM in it. So of course, if you go out a signal, so does the SOS button. Now, I think it's set on an emergency channel, so I think you'll get a better signal than you would normally get with a mobile phone, but all the same, it does go out of service. And when the TFTs were new and you went out of service, that warning would come up immediately, and that would literally say, emergency system out of use, call at the dealership. Well, it was mad, because it was going out of service, and then within 2 minutes it was going back in service, and the warning would disappear. I have now had that warning 3 times on this bike. The trouble with that is when I get that warning, the warning comes up, I can dismiss it with the whizzy wheel, but I still retain an emergency or a warning symbol on the side of the TFT here, and that can sometimes sit there until I've switched the ignition on and switched the ignition off and switched it back on again. So again, I'm hoping that will be able to be looked at. So that's really a couple of the connectivity issues. You'll know from collecting the bike that I had some troubles with the tracker. They had a faulty stealth tracker, so I've actually got my old tracker on here at the moment. So they're hopefully going to remove my old tracker and put the new one on. And interestingly, where they put my old tracker on this machine, they've actually managed, I think, to get it underneath the seat catches, and so it's very difficult to remove the front seat. So I'm hoping that they will actually be able to take a look at that as well. So that's a few of the little niggles that I've got at 600 miles that I'm hoping we'll be able to fix. Oh, one other additional one, and I may have had this one in the GS, but here I am, and I've got the cruise control on, set at 73 on the TFT. The legal limit on this road is 70, but as you can see, I'm just coming into a 50 as it happens, so I'll just curl off the cruise control. But as you can see, I use the speed on the nav screen, and generally the speedo is 2 to 3 miles an hour fast than the GPS. But one of the issues that I'm actually having is when I've got it on cruise control at motorway type speeds, the engine appears to be hunting. It appears to sort of accelerate and brake and accelerate and brake and accelerate and brake. I'm only talking sort of engine braking, and it's only very, very slight, but it's slightly disconcerting because it almost feels like the bike is actually going to give up the ghost. Now, it may well have existed on the GS, I don't know. Maybe I loved my old GS, and I love this bike. I'm making no complaints about this bike at all. I'm maybe just being hypercritical. Again, I'd be interested to know if anybody notices that hunting that goes on when you have the bike on motorway speed, UK motorway speed, cruise control. So anyway, that's the outline of the niggles. Now, what do I love about this bike? You do not notice the additional width or the additional weight, in my opinion. And I think a lot of that is to do with the fact that this part of it is a standard GS tank, and the additional weight of the tank goes forward and around. And so, of course, the weight is spread very, very evenly, the additional fuel weight. And to be honest, you've got such a great big lump low down with the Boxer engine that it's unlikely that would cause you too much angst, really. So certainly there's no difference in the handling whatsoever. Now, everybody was saying, Nick, you're always a few miles from a fuel station, why would you worry about the additional range? Well, let me tell you, it's been fantastic not to call in at the fuel station. Here I am, 117 miles to go, so I will not only get up to Oxford, I will get back from Oxford, and I actually have lost sight of when I filled the bike up. I couldn't truly tell you the last time I filled the bike up. I mean, patently it only has 320 to 340 miles to a tank full, but it was that long ago, it's tough for me to say I did it then and I did it at that fuel station. So I really do like the extra fuel range. I like the extra protection at the moment. I'm not sure what it'd be like in hot weather, but here we are at 21 degrees, which is, I suppose, on the warm side. But I certainly can tell that there's a lot more weather protection pretty well all over the bike. The only thing that I am noticing is here, bearing in mind I'm only now at 60 miles an hour, but I am noticing just here, right that sort of distance, just a 6-inch distance, I appear to be getting a little more flapping on the jacket. And interestingly, if you take a look at the screen, they've got these pieces here. Now, I'm no airflow specialist, but it almost seems like that bit is actually noticeably more wind hitting your arms, but without question I'm getting the wind going over the top of my helmet rather than hitting pretty much smack in the visor, because I've got a very tall body, relatively short legs. I'm 6'1", but I would say relatively short legs, but a very tall body. And interestingly, with this bike on auto suspension, so in other words, when I'm on it, it will be pretty well at max, I imagine. I certainly can't get both feet flat on the floor, which I used to be able to do on the old GS TE, or pretty well flat on the floor. I can get one flat on the floor, or I can get two on a solid tiptoe. And I've got my seat on high at the front, low at the back. I've always done that, so it slides you away from the tank. We're just pulling off here actually at the dealership, or on the road to the dealership, so I'll just pay a little bit of attention as I get myself off the dual carriageway here. So you know, very much I think that she's very, very similar to the GS. The extra range is great. The weather protection, the additional weather protection is without doubt there. I have noticed that more people, when you're parked up, more people make comment about it because she is, you know, such a big beast. And the only other thing that may be a problem is I may have to find somewhere else to store my patio furniture over the winter, because I'm not sure there's quite enough room in the bike shed. But anyway, it's like a beer fridge. A beer fridge should only ever be used for beer, and all soft drinks should be expelled. Anyway, we're pulling up at the dealership. Let's see what they can do for us. Let's see what they can fix on the bike, if anything, because as I say, it may not be able to be fixed today because of the software versions. But we'll then have a chat either at the dealership or on our way back once we've had it done. So we'll see you in a bit. So we're here in the dealership and the bike's just gone in, or at least it's about to go in. So hopefully it'll all get fixed up and we should be away shortly with our first service done. Just while I'm here and out of interest, we have the new R18 here, so we'll take a quick look round so that you can have a look too. So we've left North Oxford Garages. That's the first service done on the new Adventure, and the price of that, 130 quid, was put down to North Oxford Garages sales, so Nick hasn't had to pay anything, which is the best part about any first service. They've done the oil, done the filter and all the other things that they need to do on the first service, and technically now she is run in, although I'm not a thrasher of the bike anyway, but that does mean I can insert the chip when I get home for the pro modes and various other things. Anyway, all of that said, they've also looked at the upgrade to the software, and there is another TFT software on beyond what mine was, which is slightly disappointing because they did only do mine a couple of weeks ago, and that hopefully would cure the connectivity issues, although they had no release notes, so who knows. But those of you that have had that done will know that that's a 3 to 4 hour gig where it sits in the corner of the workshop and just tick, 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 tick. I think probably long term they need to do something about that, because it's a ridiculous amount of time for a software update. It's almost out Appling or out Microsofting Microsoft. But anyway, all of that said, hopefully that would cure both the connectivity issues and the SOS button issue. I don't know if the SOS button's a big issue. I've only had it 3 times, but 3 times is too many if you're relying upon that for an emergency SOS, that it might go out of service. But anyway, we'll hopefully find out that that will cure that issue as well. They did have a look at the hunting on the cruise control, but I think I'm being a little bit too pernickety there. I think if you set the cruise control at 73, the electronics are so accurate as to look at it at 73.1 and slow it down to 73, and then when it drops to 72.9, accelerate it again. So I think that's why I'm getting that sort of hunting sensation, is that it's sort of controlling it very, very accurately. So we'll forget that one, and we'll certainly give it the benefit of the doubt. So she's ready now to go on tour. We leave on tour on Saturday, so today's Tuesday, and unfortunately it's been downscaled. It was going to be the Spanish Pyrenees. The pandemic in Spain took over that, so we decided to go to the French Pyrenees, and the French pandemic rising cases scuppered that, so we decided to go to Ireland, and then Ireland decided that people from the UK would have to self-isolate in Ireland unless they were coming from Northern Ireland. Now we could play the game, but it wouldn't really be worth it if a Garda decided that they wanted €2,000 off me because I was breaking their law. So anyway, we've condensed it now to the UK, and obviously the middle to the end of September's not ideal to be travelling around the UK, but it's beautiful weather at the moment with a few days to go. It's 28 degrees, which is pretty much unknown in September, so let's hope at least some of the dryness, anyway, I'm not too worried about the weather, the temperature, but some of the dryness remains for the next week after that as well. Just of interest, because I'm interested in any comments of anybody who says, you know, you must see this, Nick, or you must do this road. We're travelling from Southampton on Saturday to Grimsby, stopping in Grimsby on Saturday night, travelling from Grimsby to Berwick-upon-Tweed on the Sunday, and then our stops after that will be Middleton in the Yorkshire Dales on the next night, and then down through the Yorkshire Dales and the Peak District to, I think it's Higham, I could be wrong, near Bakewell anyway, and we're stopping overnight there, and then we're turning right and going across the North Wales coast to Valley on Anglesey, stopping a night there, and then we're doing a bit round Snowdonia and ending up in Aberystwyth, spending a night there, and then from Aberystwyth all down the west coast of Wales, southwest coast of Wales, and then upwards onto the Brecon Beacons, staying in the north of the Brecon Beacons, just past Brecon, and the reason for that is that the south of the Brecon Beacons in the valleys and Merthyr Tydfil and Caerphilly and around there have now got extra restrictions for the pandemic, so we don't want to be sort of travelling in where we shouldn't be travelling, or travelling out where we shouldn't be travelling out. And then obviously that's the following Saturday morning, we'll wake up in near Brecon and travel back down to Southampton. So again, I'd be grateful if any of you had any ideas of where we might go and what we must see and all of those other great things. Comments are always welcome, as you know. Another little bit of footage here is just, I did a week ago have the bike ACF 50'd by Adam at All Year Biker, and he's done a fantastic job again. 70 quid for 2 hours of work, all of the treatments, the snow foaming, the cleaning, the ACF 50 treatment, which is what it's about mainly, and the polishing, buffeting and everything else. It's a superb job, and I'll put a link to the video I did of the GS being ACF 50'd so that you could see the entire treatment up here, so you can reference that card. But I had exactly the same treatment done on this. Some people may say, well, that was a bit of a waste, it was a brand new bike, Nick, but it's more about protection than it necessarily is about making the bike gleaming and shining, because it was a new bike. But effectively he's done that job, and hopefully this footage may well show you a little bit of the before and after. It will certainly show you the real dark blacks and the deep colours that you can get after the ACF 50 treatment. So thanks to Adam for that, and hopefully you guys will either pick up Adam or one of the other franchisees of All Year Biker around the country. That's it for this video. If you've liked it, thumbs up always helps with the ranking of the video and the channel. And if you've liked the video and you're not a subscriber, it'd be great to have you along as a subscriber, so hit the subscriber button and set all notifications so that when I do post another video, you'll be notified of that video being launched. Mainly, of course, thanks for viewing, and stay safe, ride safe, and stay healthy. We'll hopefully see you next time. Bye bye.